Have you ever felt like you're working 12 hours a day, but the bank account hasn't swelled? How much? You try to work hard every day, but it didn't save any money. And there are people who don't look as hard. It's getting more and more fake. Buy a car, travel as usual. Does that sound unfair? The difference is not in the number of hours worked. It's how they use their power. Some people think they have to do it all themselves. Take care of everything yourself. Some people know how to be wiser. They borrow power. They borrow tools to borrow the advantages of the times. On one side, working as hard as pulling a car. One side knows. Get on the high-speed train. Guess who gets to the destination first? We grew up with a fairly common belief. If you want to be rich, you have to be self-sufficient. Sounds good, but the truth is different. Rich people are not self-reliant. They borrow power. They borrowed knowledge from their predecessors. Instead of groping yourself, they borrow money at the right time to expand faster. They borrow technology to work for them 24/7. And that's why they can do less and do more. So in today's video here are 8 ways to borrow power. From human knowledge itself to technology. Brand and policy. These are the 7 moves that get you out of this cycle. Plow more and collect less and start to break financially, even if you start from scratch. If you find these shares helpful, don't forget to leave a like button and subscribe to the channel, because here you'll always find strategies, the most practical finance and startup, so that your journey to freedom is less bumpy and more hope. Now let's get to the content. Details of the video. How one borrows force from oneself. There's a harsh truth, but I believe you'll agree. If you don't change yourself, no one can make you rich. You can borrow knowledge, you can borrow technology, borrow money from the bank, even borrow someone else's brand. But if the root inside you is weak, all those 7s won't help. To say it happily, you can't build a mansion on clay. Borrowing power from yourself sounds strange, because I also thinks that doing it by itself is not called borrowing power. But actually here, it's a way to take advantage of free resources that you always carry. Health, discipline, and habits. These are not magical things, to the point of turning you into a millionaire overnight. But if you know how to do it a little bit every day, to be great, you yourself will become the most powerful 7. Help you break through. Let's look at the habits of 2 types of people. Poor people often have only one financial plan: selling labor in exchange for money. I came home tired for 8 hours. Get paid at the end of the month, and wait for the next one. If the loss of labor is considered as the end of cash flow. Rich people are different. They also work hard, but they turn good habits into assets. Every day they invest a little more in their knowledge and skills, health, and when you need it. All that they have accumulated, your work will be a great success. It's a real story. You are a normal office worker. After hours of tiring work, instead of just surfing social media, I spend 30 minutes a day learning digital marketing. Initial friends laugh. Oh my God, learning Kaicho is not marketing. But a year later, when a company needs someone to advertise online, Courage is a bright candidate. Salary increase. Promotion opportunities open up, income 3 times the previous day. This story is not far away. It's happening every day. It's just that someone invested in themselves. Some people ignore it. To borrow power from yourself is to create discipline first. Discipline sounds serious, but it's actually just doing the right thing, even when you're lazy. If you want to be healthy, exercise for 30 minutes every morning, whether it's raining or sunny today. You want knowledge. Read 10 pages of a book before bed, instead of 10 posts online. You want to get out of that month's salary. Then practice recording expenses, even if it's just a cup of milk tea. These little things are like drops of water. It is nothing but the sea. It's interesting when you start training. You'll see yourself as a money printer. Special. It's not printing out paper money, it's printing out opportunities. Opportunity to get a raise, better opportunities to work than opportunities to meet good people. And those opportunities are the money of the future. You might think, oh, that's the theory. It's not that simple. Try it for 6 months. You will be surprised at yourself. It's one of the reasons so many people are getting better forever. It's because they believe, when I have a lot of money, I invest in myself. But that's reverse thinking. You have to invest in yourself first, then the money comes later. It's like planting trees. You've got to take care of the new plant for the sweet fruit. No one waits for the tree to bear fruit before watering it. I like a quote. The first and most sustainable property, it's you. You can lose your job, you can lose your money, you can lose your opportunity, but if you've accumulated skills, knowledge and habits of discipline, you'll rebuild everything from scratch. It's an asset that no eye can take away. But this is where I want to wake you up. If you don't practice, there is no discipline. You are the biggest barrier. Stop yourself from getting rich. Don't think that 7 failures come from lack of capital, lack of opportunity. Sometimes the reason is simply you. Lack of patience. Take a small step each day. You're not stopped by the outside world. You're held back by your own procrastination. So do how to start borrowing power from yourself. The answer is simple. Choose a small thing and do it every day. You want to be richer. It starts by learning how to manage the first 500,000 you earn. You want more skills. Let's start by watching a short video that teaches Excel. Learn Canva or write a test commercial. You want to be healthy. Stand up for a 10-minute walk instead of lying in bed. Sounds small, but its power will surprise you. After 6 months, don't ignore repetitive tasks. It's they that make a huge difference. It's like doing something as small as spending 30 minutes a day studying. After a year, you will have an 82 hours of study with an intensive training course. Or exercising 20 minutes a day. After a year is more than 120 hours of activity. Enough to turn a sedentary person to be a person of remarkable health. The 4 key points are: don't let yourself be the reason you're poor forever. Make yourself the first and most powerful 7. Because when you change yourself, everything around you will change. You don't have to be perfect in the first place. You just have to persevere a little bit, be a little more disciplined, and believe you can. Like a tiny seed, it can still be a tree. And when you've become a giant tree, the other 7 blows human knowledge technology can hold on to lift you higher. Second, borrow power from knowledge. How to borrow the power of wealth. The next one I want to share with you, it's borrowing power from knowledge. If in the previous part, we talk a lot about the power that comes from discipline and personal habits. So let's look at something invisible this time, but it's much stronger. Knowledge. Imagine you're playing a very complicated game. A man tinkering step by step on his own. Continuous VA mousetrap. It took me a month to get through one. Meanwhile, someone else simply needs to watch a video, tutorials on YouTube, or read an experience-sharing article. And they went straight to victory in one evening. That's the difference between borrowing power from knowledge. In life, there are people who are persistent. Be willing to do it yourself and learn from it. But the price is usually very expensive. It may take a year to 15 to realize a lesson that the book has clearly written, apparently for a long time. Meanwhile, there are people who don't beat themselves up like that. They read books, they learn from mentors. They go to a course or workshop. It only requires a small investment. They've saved a whole trial and error journey. This is proven. This is most evident in the habits of leaders. The world of finance. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors, spent 80% of the day reading. He read the report, he read the book, he crunched the numbers. What you borrow here is wisdom. Experience of hundreds of other businesses. It's not just based on your feelings. And you don't have to be a billionaire to take advantage of this. Right in Vietnam, I know there are young people who start out very normally. There is no capital, no English relations, are still stuck. But they persisted in learning from free sources of knowledge. YouTube, Coursera, Udemy. It's basically video tutorials, then gradually upgrade to digital marketing skills, program design, results, After only 2 years they become international freelancer. Received project from Europe, USA. That's more than office work. To look beyond knowledge is the fairest 7. Whether you were born in the city or the countryside, Russell family scene, access to knowledge is now almost equal. A book, an online course, or a quality video, it can all open up new doors for you. The only question is whether you're willing to walk through. The problem is that many people often regret money for knowledge. 100,000 books is too expensive, but a 500,000 drink is worth it. A 2 million course is hesitant, but changing the phone 20 million is not hesitate. The real price is not the money you save, the number of years you lose. Some people save a few 100,000. It took 10 years. I like to think of knowledge as Google Maps. You can't use a map and still get to your destination, but it takes time to get lost, even in the wrong direction. While just opening up the map, you know the shortest way, where it's clogged, where it's easy. Knowledge too. It shows you the optimal path. Warning: trap stamping. It will save you a mountain of time. It's one of the easiest ways to borrow power from knowledge. It's reading books. Reading is a silent conversation with the greatest minds. You can't call Steve Jobs, ask how you create, but you can read what he left behind. You can't have coffee with Elon Musk, but you can read through his interviews. The books, podcast, article, course. Your mentor is always ready to teach you. Just open it up and remember one thing. Reading a book can save you 5 years. It's your fault. Read the right books with the right knowledge. It means you take a shortcut. Read a book every month. 1 year, you can shorten 15 groping sessions. Successful people are not necessarily better than others. They learn more from those who have gone before them. Finally, don't regret some books or some courses. If you're sorry, you'll pay for 10 years. Money can be earned, but time is lost. Every day you procrastinate without studying. It's the day someone leaves you one step behind. So don't let tomorrow be the reason for procrastination. Let's start today. Buy a book you are interested in, sign up for an online course, or just listen to the podcast instead of surfing the internet unconsciously for a seed of knowledge sown today. It can become a giant tree, giving you shade and sweet future. How BA borrows power from humans. If knowledge is the treasure that keeps you on the right path, people are the bridges. Take you to new lands that you can't reach alone. There's actually a lot of young people. When starting a business, everyone thinks I have to do it all myself. They believe that if they don't do it themselves, they won't control everything. That sounds reasonable, but the result is like a person who's just driving. Just check the map. Just sold tickets for guests. The car can drive for a while and then go downhill because the driver is overloaded. On the contrary, there are people who ask for an expert, know how to find a team, and their car doesn't just keep going. It's also incredibly fast. It's a very visible story in the startup world. A founder starts with a great idea. If you are alone, you will forever with the product, financial clients, legal papers. Finally, the market is exhausted. There are other founders as well. They call to co-founders. Someone who's good at engineering, someone who's good at operations. Thanks to that collaboration, the company scales up 10 times faster. The same idea, but on the one hand it becomes present. On the one hand, it's always on paper. There's a very familiar saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go away, go with someone else. But maybe in business it's twice as true. Because of the distance from having an idea to having a product. It's not just speed, it's endurance. And only the collective creates that resilience. On the journey to riches, building relationships, finding mentors, teammates are not just another option. It's really mandatory if you want to last. Please pay attention. Successful people rarely label themselves, I'm good at everything. They often admit very clearly where they're good at, where weak, and they're looking for someone to fill in the missing piece. Someone with a big vision, but lack of technology will find a companion engineer. Someone who is good at finance but poor at communication. I will find someone who is good at communication. Just like that, they turn an unfinished picture into a complete picture. On the contrary, Many people fall into the trap of hugging. They think that other people are weak. If you are afraid to share the benefits, you will lose your share. But let's imagine you alone hold 100% of a small cake, then holding 30% of a cake 100 times bigger. Which one do you choose? The person who understands 7 will choose the big because they know the benefits of resonance, stronger than any selfishness. Take advantage of human power. It's not just limited to having teammates. It's about borrowing wisdom from those who've gone before. Mentors who have gone through 7 failures enough to stumble. It's the shield that protects you from a lot of silly mistakes. A conversation with a mentor. It can be replaced by a whole year. Advice at the right time. It could save an entire project from bankruptcy. If you have a chance, find one or more such teachers. Sometimes, you just need the right question. You've saved a lot of time and money. And not just mentors, even colleagues and friends, or even customers. It can also be a valuable resource. A genuine feedback from customers sometimes help you steer the product in the right direction. A like-minded friend. You can get motivated when you're discouraged. First, good career. It can completely change the performance of the entire team. Important thing, you have to know how to build and nurture these relationships. Don't just accept and forget. If you want others to help you, you also need to be willing to share value, knowledge, or simply sincerity. A long-lasting relationship. It's always based on a two-way exchange, so no one succeeds alone. Even the greatest people you know. There's a team of 5 behind them. Steve Jobs has Wozniak. Elon Musk has thousands of engineers. Jack Ma has a group of Alibaba co-founders by his side. They all know how to borrow human power to turn a personal vision into a collective reality. And if you just embrace it all, you will be exhausted before you see success. Wealth doesn't come from how much you do. It's about knowing what to do yourself. What to ask someone else. Don't make yourself a multi-purpose machine. Just worry and worry. For learn to share, learn to trust. Learn how to connect. In the end, money and success, it's just the result of collaboration. The more you borrow power from people, the farther you go, the more durable, and most importantly, you will not feel alone on the journey. Full of this challenge. For borrow power from money. The next thing I want you to pay special attention to, it's borrowing power from money. It's a fascinating and controversial topic. Many people just hear the word loan and sweat. Debt is the path to misery. But the truth is much more subtle. It's not bad. The bad thing is how you use the loan. 7 simple financial understanding. It's about taking advantage of other people's money to create greater value for yourself. That sounds manipulative, but in fact, it's a familiar operating principle of the whole economy. Companies borrow money from banks to expand production. Investors use margin to double their profits. And even if you know how to use it, you can borrow money to make your dreams come true many times faster. But there's one thing that needs to be distinguished here. Bad debt and bad debt are loans to spend. Loans to satisfy short-term needs. For example, buying a new phone, a car just to show off, and then go back to the tired installment. Good debt is completely different. It's a loan that helps you invest in upgrades, creating cash flow in the future. Good debt is a loan that pays itself off. Profits born enough to offset the amount you borrow and the interest rate. To better understand, listen to this story about a small cafe. Initially, the bar had a cramped space with poor lighting, old furniture. The owner wants to upgrade to attract guests, but the accumulated money is not enough. After careful consideration, he decided to borrow $200 million from the bank. With that money, he's reinventing the space. Install more decorative lighting according to the youthful concept. Invest in more modern coffee machines. The restaurant was twice as crowded. Revenue increased by $50 million per month. After just a few months, the extra profit is enough to pay off the debt. And there's a stable return. This loan is obvious. It's not a burden, it's a launch pad. The opposite. If you also borrow $200 million but spend it shopping extravagant, all you have is a few months with friends. And then years of struggling to pay. Same loan amount, but the results are the exact opposite, just because it's used differently. That's why money is only dangerous when you don't know how to use it. It's like a knife. In the chef's hands, the knife creates delicious food. In the hands of a careless person, a knife causes an accident. It itself is neutral, but how you use it determines the outcome. There's an obvious difference. Many people are afraid of debt, so they do not dare to invest. They kept piling up little by little, waiting for enough to do it. There are people who know how to use debt properly. You can borrow money to go faster. The result is that when you have enough money, the opportunity has passed. Those who know how to use 7 have come a long way. Speaking of borrowing money, you can't ignore the word responsibility. Responsibility for the plan of use, with the cash flow and with your own decisions. There's nothing worse than borrowing without calculation, spending without paying, to fall into a cycle of debt. It's not just about paying on time. It's about making sure the loan actually creates new value. So let's do how to safely borrow power from money. There are some small but very important principles. A loan only when there is a clear plan and the ability to repay the debt. To use borrowed money to invest, not to spend. B. Risk calculation. Suppose the plan is not as expected. You still have to manage. Always remember that borrowing is not the goal. The goal is to generate more cash flow than you borrow. When looking back, you'll see most successful entrepreneurs. We all have debt at some point. No, I will wait until there are 10 billion available to start a business. They're taking out loans to raise money. But the point is, they know how to make loans into a growth opportunity instead of being a burden. So if you borrow to spend, you're ruined. Loans to invest properly can save you. A wise loan will become a launching pad. But a wrong loan, they will make you a slave to the bank. The difference lies in one word: consciousness. So don't jump to the conclusion that debt is bad. Loans can be 7. The most powerful in the journey of wealth, as long as you know how to use it correctly. Remember, money is not to blame. There is only our use. I decided it was a double-edged sword, or a stick firmly planted on a long road. We borrowed power from technology and the internet. How to borrow the next force cannot fail to mention. It's borrowing power from technology and the internet. This is 7. It's changing the lives of millions of people, even those who started with nothing. Try to look around. Most of the traditional manual work, they require you to be present in person. If you give up, you will have money. But technology opens another door. You can build automated systems, works 24/7, even when you're sleeping. One side is running by the hour. On the one hand, let the system run itself. This difference. Sometimes that's why some people struggle. Some people are becoming more and more thong dong. Also listen to the following example. A fruit seller in the country. I used to go to the market every morning. Sales know that day. The end of the day is over. But when this person tried to put the product on the TikTok store, we start live selling 2 hours a day. Unexpected results. The amount sold in a live stream. More than a month in the market. The difference is not in the orange, or better mango. It's about leveraging the power of the internet to expand the market. The internet is like a money machine. But not everyone knows how to turn it on. A short video, an online store, or an automated management software. All of which can multiply your power. If you sell directly alone, serving only 10 guests, is online. You can serve thousands of people at the same time. If you take care of each customer alone, chatbot or automated email, you can do it all the time, without getting tired. Some people often wonder, the technology is so complicated, I'm not technical. But the truth is, today's technology is more and more friendly. Salespeople don't have to know how to program. You just need a few clicks on Shopee. Lazada or TikTok already have their own stores. Customer management is not necessarily good at it. Just knowing how to use popular CRM software is enough. They even create videos. Advertising is now simpler than ever. With just one phone. The difficulty is no longer in the tool. It's about whether you learn to exploit it. or not. And what's worth saying is, technology doesn't just help you sell more. It also helps you reduce costs, save time, and scale up quickly. An offline store that wants to serve 100 more customers, you have to rent more space, staff. But the online store only needs to optimize a few lines of code. Or run more. Advertising is done. It's a traditional business. Want to expand to another province? You have to invest in facilities. Online business, just a few marketing campaigns. Target the right customers. In fact, many young people in Vietnam, he used this to change his life. You start with an old phone and some 10 TikTok clips. But by consistently posting videos of interacting with customers, he's built a personal brand. From there, open your own shop and become KL in the industry of your choice. There are also farmers who think they can only plow, but learning how to sell live. They suddenly became celebrities in the village. Customers order from all over the country. It's like a modern saying, Internet. It's a money machine that let's say, I know how to use it. But it's like every other machine. You have to know how to operate, know when to accelerate, when to need maintenance. If you just stand and watch, the internet will just be a meaningless bright screen. But if you think of it as a working tool, you'll see the money dripping every day. And then it becomes a steady flow. However, if you are not on the internet, you're missing out on 90% of your potential customers. Think about it. Most people today spend hours on the phone, social networking calculator. If the product, the service, or the person you're not there for, how do customers know about you? You can be good. It can be very helpful. But if you don't use the internet, you're confining yourself to a small pond. So if you want to borrow power from technology, let's start with the smallest things. Create a knowledge-sharing fan page. Open an online store for testing. Post a few short videos to reach new viewers. Don't wait for technology to get started, because you'll never feel enough. Practice is the fastest way to learn. Finally, remember, technology and internet, it's not the privilege of AI alone. It's like the wind blowing everywhere. Those who sail will go far, and people who just stand and watch are always standing still. So the question for you is, you'll continue to let the waves go, or you'll borrow the wind to take his boat to the great sea. 6 ways standing on the shoulders of giants. It's one of the smartest ways to borrow power. Standing on the shoulders of giants. It sounds big, but actually the meaning is very simple. Take advantage of infrastructure. Large platform has been built instead of carrying everything from scratch. Think about whether you want to sell online. There are 2 paths. One is to hire a team of 5 programmers to build your own website. Rent a server running ads, pull guests. This road is expensive and takes a long time, and not sure if it works. 2 is to open a store right away on Shopee, Lazada, TikTok Shop, where millions of people search every day. Ready to shop. The customer was there. The stream of people was bustling. Your job is to put the product in the right place. The biggest difference is not in the products you sell. It's the path you choose to go to your customers. And so did many young artists. If you want to launch CA, you have to go to a major sign a contract label. Waiting to be promoted investment. Now you just need YouTube, Spotify, hey Apple Music. They can self-publish, reach a global audience, without the company's backing. There are young CA voices from the tiny bedroom, microphones and laptops. It's become a global phenomenon thanks to YouTube. The giant built the stage. You just have to step up and perform. The point here is don't try to walk when there is a highway. This era of technology platforms and e-commerce, it's the highways. So you can open your own path, but you're exhausted. In the meantime, just take advantage of what you already have. You go 100 times faster. A noticeable difference. There are people who want to do everything themselves because I think that's sustainable. But in fact, sustainability comes from knowing how to choose the right launch pad. Build your own system when you don't have the capital. No guests yet. It's like building a building on sand. And when you take advantage of the big platform, you're building on existing concrete. The rest is to improve the product, service, and experience to retain customers. The interesting story is, many small businesses in Vietnam have been successful just by choosing the giant at the right time. A local fashion brand. You don't have to rent billions of stores across the city. They open shop on the e-commerce floor. Combine live stream. Take advantage of the huge guest flow available from the platform. They just saved money. They just gained access to a wider market. Or a young entrepreneur doing content on Facebook, Reels. Instead of running ads or building your own platform, he's taking advantage of Facebook's algorithm right now, where they're willing to push video to hundreds of thousands of people in just a few days. 9. Thanks to Borrow the Giant, that she's got a steady audience to sell online courses later. So remember, the giant who built the road, your job is to drive. You don't have to give up 15 to build a payment system. The logistics marketing platform has replaced you. You just need to choose the right product, properly convey and persevere on that path. But there's one thing to keep in mind. Standing on the shoulders of giants, it doesn't mean complete dependence. If you just rely on them without creating your own value, you're just as easily swept away as the giants. Change the rules of the game. For example, many online shops rely on one platform. Until the algorithm changes or the policy tightens, sales plummeted. So, the wisest is to take advantage of the platform to accelerate, while building your own brand. To keep the initiative. An easy image to visualize. Ride an elevator in a high-rise building. The elevator will get you to the 20th floor in a minute, instead of climbing the stairs sweating. But when we get to the top, you also need your own apartment. You can't stay in the elevator forever. The foundation is the vehicle, not the house. And if you try to walk alone, you will be exhausted before you see success. But if you take advantage of the available highways, you're going 100 times faster. Smart people, not the best, in doing everything yourself. It's about choosing the best way to get there. So instead of trying to map yourself, stand on the shoulders of giants. Use existing platforms to accelerate, learn to control the path they build, and focus all your energy on what's most important, the value you bring. When you can do that, you don't just go further and faster. There's also a chance to make dreams come true, with much less cost and effort. 7 ways to borrow power from brand and reputation. It's one of the few secrets that people notice, but it's extremely harmful. It's about borrowing power from brand and reputation. You may not have a silkworm, no name yet, but if you know how to associate yourself with a big name, you'll immediately get a value resonance. This is a distinct difference in thinking. Some people think they should be proud. Prove yourself to succeed. But in fact, standing alone to shout is exhausting. But the sound doesn't go away. If you know how to cooperate, you can borrow the reputation of someone who has a reputation. Your voice will be heard many times. It's not because you scream louder, it's because you're using someone else's microphone. It's very obvious in the fashion business. In Vietnam, a small local fashion brand normally only sell a few 10 units per month. But after cooperating with a famous KL on TikTok, product review, immediately orders exploded. It burns out after a few hours. The clothes are still clothes, constant quality, but the power of the brand's reputation has completely changed the landscape. People are afraid to try new brands. But when they see someone they believe in praising, they're ready to open their wallets. On the international scale, there's an even clearer example. Football Club Al Nassr. The name of this club is quite modest. Known only in the Middle East VI. But since the signing of Cristiano Ronaldo, a global star, the story is different. Not just pages Instagram of the club increased by 10 million followers in just a few months, but the tournament where they're involved is also noticed by the world. People don't just watch Ronaldo. Learn more about Anas, about Arab football. That's the enormous power of borrowing credit. This story teaches an important lesson. A brand is an intangible asset more powerful than capital. You may not have much money, not many relationships, but if you can tie your name with a big brand, you've saved years of building trust. Brand practice and reputation. It's an intangible asset that many people often overlook. You can see the house machinery inventory. It's tangible property. But brand reputation. Trust from customers is even more powerful. Because it's directly about buying behavior, loyalty, and also the ability to expand the market. If you look at successful tech startups, they usually don't start with big money. It starts with collaboration or associated with a reputable name. A new app that can partner with big banks to be guaranteed. A brand of coffee. New coffee can cooperate with a large e-commerce platform to quickly build trust. The product itself is not necessarily superior, but the credibility that comes with it makes customers willing to try. On the contrary, if you have no credibility, they don't know how to borrow other people's credit, you will struggle. You can sell a few by luck, but it's hard to build lasting trust. And as a rule, trust is the strongest currency in business. Imagine you want to start an online course. If you just stand out on your own, many people may be suspicious. Who is this person? Is there enough expertise? But if your course is a major expert, guarantee, or companion university, immediately, trust will increase. Buyers don't just buy knowledge, they buy peace of mind. Of course, borrowing power from the zeroth brand means that you rely on. You can't stay attached to someone else forever without building credibility for yourself. Cooperation is a stepping stone for you to quickly step into the light. But when you get noticed, your job is to prove your worth. To create a sustainable personal brand. It's like in art. Young doctor can rise to prominence thanks to the famous C artist's music cover. But in the long run, they still need to launch their own product to assert ourselves. So if you don't have credibility, borrow the reputation of others. Don't be afraid to shake hands. Don't be afraid to be judged, because that's how most people succeed, have been through. But in parallel, invest in building your own brand for yourself. Because one day, others will come to borrow your reputation. Reputation is like a bridge. When there is no bridge, it's hard to get to the river. But if you can borrow the existing bridge, you'll get to the other side faster. It's a matter of whether you dare to step up and walk through. 8. Borrow power from law and policy. Next is a form of 7 that's often overlooked, but it's really powerful. It's borrowing power from law and policy. It sounds dry, but don't forget, laws and policies, like the priority lanes, that the state is already on the economic path. If you know how to take advantage, you'll go much faster and save a lot of energy. In the face of new regulations or policies, everyone has a very different perspective. Someone sighed, the law is too complicated for people. But there are others who smile. This new policy can help you reduce your costs, increase the opportunity to scale up. The same map as the person who sees the barrier. People who see the road. In fact, countries including Vietnam, there are always many support programs for agricultural innovation. But most people don't care. If you are interested, you are afraid to find out. Why eyes are hard to read. Fall properly. Get a preferential loan again. Tax relief or free media support. Let's look at them. Vietnamese tech startups in recent years. Many early-stage companies are very young. Not much cash flow. But by participating in endowment funds, state or international innovation, they have billions of dollars to cover research expenses, hiring personnel to expand operations. This money is not borrowed. It's the backing capital or venture capital from the fund. In other words, they've borrowed power from policy to get through the most difficult period. Another, closer example in agriculture. Many farmer households to get a loan from a low-interest extension program to invest in fertilizer machines who take advantage of this policy properly, then increase productivity, increase income. People who ignore is still struggling with the old plow hoe. So remember that policy is the launch pad if you know how to find and apply it correctly. Sometimes, you don't need to be too good. You just need to be one step faster than your opponent. In taking advantage of incentives, you've got a significant competitive advantage. Of course, when it comes to law and policy, we need to be vigilant. Not every vulnerability should be exploited. Not all incentives are suitable. There are cases where some people take advantage, leading to violations or penalties. So borrowing power here means legal transparency and intelligence. It's not just a sustainable way of getting rich. It helps you sleep well every night. Don't worry about being called tomorrow. It's an interesting way of looking. The rules are like the rules of a big game of chess. People who complain always find themselves forced. People who find it hard to find special moves. It can change the game. You choose to know players, or the player knows. Use the law to win. And if you don't take advantage, your competitors will take advantage first. The business world is already fiercely competitive. Skip a support policy. It's no different than leaving yourself to someone else. The golden key unlocks the treasure. So instead of complaining about the law making it hard for me, let's try another question. In this law, is there anything I can use to my advantage? You'll be surprised to see that many roads are open, just waiting for you to step up. And finally, I'll show you how to apply it by age. In the life of everyone, it's like a long journey. And at every turn, the key to opening up opportunities is different. If you are 18 years old, you borrow money to invest in land. Chances are you'll get in trouble before you learn how to write a contract. But if you're 35 years old and you're still learning short-term skill courses without daring to scale up, you'll miss 10 golden years to break through. Each stage has its own 7 and choose false 7. Sometimes it costs you 15. Between 18 and 25 years old. The most important thing, it's not about making a lot of money. It's about building a foundation. This is when you have plenty of time, less responsibility, and lots of opportunities to experiment. The wisest way is to focus on borrowing knowledge, borrow technology, and borrow brand power. The reading of books, taking online courses, find an inspiring mentor will help you go much faster than groping yourself. Technology is also a 7 blow that cannot be ignored. With just one laptop, some free tools, and a little patience, I can help you with your project. Sell online or build your own YouTube channel. There are students. Turn your digital marketing skills. Learn from YouTube. Become an international freelancer. Earn more than a stable office salary. This is also a phase. We should start building a personal brand, maybe by sharing articles, short video, or small blog. The sooner your name appears in the minds of others, the easier it is for you to move on. 2,530 years old. This time, it's like the stage where you're actually born to challenge ourselves. If in your early 20s you focused on building the foundation, now is the time. Use it to start and build a career. The biggest 7 in this stage is about borrowing human power and stand on the shoulders of giants. Don't think you have to be good at everything. Trying alone only makes you exhausted and slow down. Find a team. Find a partner with additional strengths. A successful startup usually has many co-founders. A good technical person, a person in charge of operations, a person in charge of marketing. This allows the company to grow rapidly, many times over, compared to having just one individual hugging. This is also the time when you need to take advantage of the available infrastructure. Instead of spending hundreds of millions building your own website, let's open booths on e-commerce floors, where millions of customers are ready to shop every day. Instead of trying to build a foundation out of nothing, let giants like Shopee, Lazada, YouTube, or TikTok raise you up. The road is paved. Your job is to drive. By the age of 30 to 40, everything changes. You don't have much time to try now, as wrong as 20. But in return, you have experience, reputable, and usually some initial capital. It's time for stronger 7s. Borrowing money and borrowing policy. If at the age of 20, taking on debt to invest can cause you to fail. At the age of 30, borrowing bank capital to expand the scale. Again, a necessary step. A small store can become a chain. if you know how to use the loan properly. A young company that can multiply many times its size. If you want to borrow money to invest in machinery, people, and market. Parallel to that, policy is also a powerful launchpad. The state always has funds to support innovation, extension program, tax incentives, or opportunities from trade agreements. I is quick to take advantage There will be a competitive advantage. A small business by joining a grant fund can be funded by technology research. A farmer's household, thanks to a preferential interest loan, can buy machines to increase productivity many times. Looking back at all three stages, we see a clear pattern. There are number 7s for all ages. Each stage requires a different approach. Young people need knowledge and technology to learn. Startups need a team and a team. Floors available to go fast. Experienced people need money and policies to break through. No one is forcing you to do it all at once. Choose the wrong 7. It can cost you 15 turns. And if there's one important reminder, it's that turning 30 years old, if you're still relying on your own strength, I only work 8 hours a day. Increase your C by a few hours. You will be left behind. The world is not waiting for AI. Your competitors have borrowed knowledge from others. Borrow money from the bank. Borrowing policy from the state to go faster. If you don't start today, you don't just lose a chance. It could take 10 years, dear. The most important thing after all, you need to remember that rich people never go alone. They always know how to borrow power. They borrow knowledge from their predecessors, borrowing technology of the time, to borrow prestige, to borrow money, and also to open the way. That's why they go faster. If at first you feel like you are working, it's hard, and it's stuck in place, believe that the picture can change. It doesn't matter where you start. It's only important that you borrow the power to go faster. If a bird flaps its wings, it's exhausted before flying away. But if you take advantage of the wind, it can cross the ocean. You too, just pick the right 7. The journey will be much lighter. So what can you do right now? It's very simple. Pick a small thing to start with. Read a book that could save you 5 years. Try asking a mentor. It can help you avoid a painful fall. Or try an online sale. To feel the power of technology, don't wait until you are perfectly ready. Let's start with the smallest thing today. And if you find this video helpful, let's leave a like button. Subscribe channel to not miss out on financial strategies and the most practical startup. I'd love to hear from you too. Where would you start borrowing power from? Leave a comment. Because maybe your own sharing will inspire for someone else on this journey.